I always see this sort of dark red shadow in the corner of my eyes, driving down the road to school, in my room, even when I'm camping. I have a couple of friends who are mediums, clairvoyants. They said I might have something attached to me once I first met them. These people camp every weekend, like my family does, and we've gotten into ghost hunting. The first time we tried it, I got in contact with my aunt. A couple weeks later, we tried it again, this time getting really weird things like slut, lust, ass, etc. We've gotten the words lust and demon right after one of another, after we asked who we are speaking to. My friend apparently can see figures. I'm sort of skeptical about this because he says he can see them almost clearly. But he said there was a deep red figure behind me, and so I got scared. We were doing essence method while my friend was under, and we got the word breathe. Every time I freak out because of some noises of me feeling something that isn't there, we always get the word breathe and then demon after it. I decided to try and search for this thing that was attached to me. I have something where I can see auras of things, mainly humans or animals, but I've been able to get auras that I saw with no actual figure there. I saw this deep red figure in front of me. I've been seeing it less recently and I'm not sure what it is. Tonight, me and my friend decided we wanted to play with an Ouija board because we have nothing else to do that night. We had done it in the past and it worked, so we went into the woods in my neighborhood to try it out. It wasn't working well. It only answered our first question of, is anyone here? With a yes, but it stopped moving after that. But it felt kind of as if the spirit was trying to communicate outside of the board. And at first it was just the sound of footsteps and rustling, circling around us. But we were able to dismiss that because we were outside and it could have been an animal. We decided to give it a shot though and asked for a sign, and a car alarm went off and my flashlight stopped working. That was weird but not completely confirming. We asked for it to make another alarm go off and a police siren went off, very, very close to us. We then decided to ask it to make another alarm go off while we were walking back to my house. Before we left though, we decided to ask for one more very, very definite sign that a spirit is present. Immediately after asking, we heard so many police sirens passing, then blood-curdling screams from a woman for what sounded pretty close. It wasn't playful screams. There were very intense screams of either pain or fear. Several of them. Like it literally sounded like someone was getting murdered. After hearing this, we ran out of the woods and we were walking back to my house. And that's when we heard another alarm go off. I don't know if this was coincidental or if there was a spirit contacting us. The energy was horrible and extremely negative while we were trying to contact something. If it is a spirit, it's definitely not a good one. I'm going to be checking the news a lot for the next day to see if someone was actually hurt, because it really sounded like it, especially with the amount of cop cars we heard rushing that direction. This happened around 13 years ago. My parents said they were going on a date. Now, I think I should mention that we lived in a very, very small town. There were no houses near us, but anyways, they said that they would be back soon. They informed me on the rules, don't open the door for anyone, etc. Once they left, I decided to lay down for a while. After about 25 minutes, I heard a knock at the door. I knew my parents weren't home yet, so I didn't check it first. But after a while, I found the strength to go check a window. I carefully peeped through the blinds, but no one was there. I was a little confused, but also very scared. I carefully peeped through the blinds. I sat down on the couch and forgot about it. After a while, again, I heard a knock, but I also heard my mother's voice say, "Let me in." I checked the blinds once more and saw nothing. My heart dropped, and I ran to my room and closed the door behind me. I sat on my bed for what felt like hours, even though nothing had happened for a while. but the window closest to my bed was knocked on 3 times. I yelled out in fear and ran out of my room crying. I decided to go to my parents' room and wait for them to arrive. After a while, they finally got home and unlocked the door. I ran out of the room and ran to them and told them about the strange things that happened. They obviously didn't believe me, but once they arrived, the knocking stopped completely. Nothing has happened ever since.
The entity, not the occurrence. Yesterday, I was talking with an old friend of mine. She just witnessed her dad have a bad heart attack. As far as I know, he's still alive, but she hasn't responded to any of my texts. That being said, she had a strange dream that night. I was laying on my couch watching TV when this small being, drenched in a black mist, floated past me and turned into a doorway. I could faintly make out its charred skull. It was cloaked, and the mist that followed was a lot like the black smoke disappearing behind it as it glided through the air. It kind of reminded me of the Dementors from Harry Potter. I quickly grabbed my phone and opened the camera to video it, but was stunned when I looked back to find it staring at me. The skull was hard to see, but I could make out its fingers hanging from its dark cloak. Its face was obviously a skull, but it was so black, it was hard to find the lines, but its dark eye holes, nose, and loosely closed mouth were the darkest areas I could see, other than its cloak anyway. I fell back onto the couch looking at it from the corner of my eye. I wasn't sure if it was coming closer to me, or staying stagnant from the bright TV shining at me, but I spoke, telling it that it had to leave and to leave me and my family alone. That's when I woke up in sleep paralysis in my bed. The room was dark, but I finally got the strength to turn the lamp on. In the living room, there was nothing out of the ordinary. The light was dimmed, and the TV was shut off like it was supposed to be. The only big difference I noticed was my living room seemed larger in the dream, and there was no doorway behind the TV. It was just a wall. And death, I'm assuming that's what this entity was smaller the last few times I've seen it. The first was the day my grandmother passed away, only a few hours before I found her in her bed. That time I was outside, and it wasn't a dream. The second was a few days before I had to put one of my pets down. That was more like a sleep paralysis experience. I called my parents to see if they were alright, and nothing out of the ordinary there. However, I'm still very concerned for my old friend. I hope everything's alright. Last she spoke to me was yesterday. She was going to see her dad in the hospital, but hasn't answered me since. Has anyone else ever seen death before?